Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, YouTube exclusive with myself, JP Dinnell, and Lucas Pinkard. What's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, man? I'm a little less anxious now that we're, some time removed away from our near suffocation stories that had my watch about to send alerts to my wife that your husband is unsafe.
Yeah, honest. So
intense, man.
I have this notebook that I just use for notes for clients' calls and
use and peruse.
FTXs and events that I'm at. I told you I write down different thoughts and or quotes that people say, and then sometimes I'll take those quotes and I'll modify them to things that are going on in my life or the way I think about things.
Right. Applying some knowledge there.
Trying to. And, this quote that we have actually piggybacks into the second question that we had last week that we said we'd knock out this week.
Yeah.
Or not quote, but just, I guess, these thoughts that I've written down.
Come on.
Life gives us opportunities daily to practice leadership skill sets, and we can get real-time feedback on what is working and what is not working based on our abilities to do an honest self-assessment.
Okay.
Life. I mean, everything in life. How you interact with your wife, how you interact with a stranger, how you interact with your baby, how you interact with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids, your boss, your coworkers,
whatever it is.
It doesn't matter. How are you acting in traffic? How are you acting like knocking out work? Are you doing work with a good attitude or a bad attitude? Are you focusing and using your time wisely, or you getting distracted, like all of these things. And so you had asked a question about what was my greatest leadership challenge?
Yeah. The question is, what was the hardest part of SEAL leadership training?
So when I went through training in BUDS and SQT and as a new guy and on my second platoon, there wasn't a lot of SEAL leadership training.
I think that is fascinating.
Well, it's changed.
Right.
It's changed.
But you guys are kind of the ones that changed it.
Yeah, Jocko changed it when we were running training together because he recognized a void. You know this. I've said it many times. You can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. And this opportunity that we had when we were running training was awesome because there was a void of leadership development training, and it wasn't really focused on until people went at a higher level in their career, and then it's like, cool, now we'll send them to the Senior Enlisted Leadership Training Academy, which was great that they would do that, but it was like, why are we not doing that earlier when guys are going through training? So I never went through SEAL leadership training, but there was leadership training in every block of SEAL training I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
And it goes back to this quote that I just read to you guys, or this thought that I had, is because there are constant opportunities in life, and there are just nonstop opportunities in SEAL training for you to become a better leader. And so for me, the biggest thing I've always had an issue with is not being super hands-on when I'm in a leadership position. And the reason why I struggle with that is because I like doing the work. I like being there with my guys. I like doing work with them, supporting them, being alongside them, and just spending that time bonding with my people. And so the problem that creates is this illusion and or environment of micromanagement. And it's a problem. So that's something I need to constantly work on. And then I would say the second thing would be my communication. I've been hyper focused on improving that over the years, working with Echelon Front. But I used to over communicate and cause confusion and give too much information because of my own insecurities about my ability to communicate. So I always thought that I had to give more information for people to truly understand what I was trying to communicate, because I didn't feel like I had the education levels to be able to communicate properly, which is comical that I had that false self-limitation.
Well, that's kind of the imposter syndrome thing, right? And I
would say 100% the imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
yes,
that's something that I struggle with a lot still. when I'm sitting down in a room with other pastors, or we're, several of us that are serving on, whether it's a ministry board or, a committee, like a missions committee, where we're trying to figure out how to support either local church plants or, some of our national or international church plants in the way that we're doing those kinds of things. Like sitting in a room and being the only guy that doesn't have the letters PhD in front of their name. Yeah. It's a really weird feeling of like, I don't belong in this room. And that imposter syndrome, man, I think that is one of the biggest things that so many of us feel, especially when we get promoted to a leadership position, is that like it sneaks up on us. Yeah. And we don't realize that we feel it. Like, we may feel good about it, and we may feel like maybe we're, I'm not fully prepared for this job, but I think that I can do it, and my bosses can see that I do the task. And the very first time that we get into a conference room with our peers and we realize like, oh crap, like I am not at the level of these dudes. I should not be at this table. Mm-hmm. Right. But that's always been kind of one of your things, is like earn the seat, right? Yeah. I forget how exactly it is that you phrase it, like earn the spot. How do you say it?
You need to earn the seat at the table daily. Yeah. And for me, it's just a reminder, like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do to earn the seat? And the number one thing I need to be focused on is building relationships. Because if I'm building relationships with the people around me, I'm going to be able to learn from them. And I'm going to be able to get real-time feedback of what's working, what's not working. And if I have a really good relationship with the people around me, if I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, they'll give me the feedback. Yeah. They'll give me the coaching, the mentoring. And so I focus on my communication skill sets to help build those relationships, making sure I'm detaching from my emotions and stepping back and prioritizing, like, okay, hey, what do I need to be working on that's going to create the biggest impact to the mission? And then just when I do all those things, I can actually implement decentralized command. I can empower people around me to help. I can empower people around me to go do the work, and and then I can be more strategic. So all I'm doing is using the laws of combat to win. So when I can use the laws of combat, that's when we win in life.
So follow up to this, another SEAL leadership question. This one is really interesting to me. What's the most important piece of gear for a SEAL leader?
Most important piece of gear?
What's the most important piece of gear for a SEAL leader? Because
the radio.
Think. Okay.
It's a radio. Because that's how they communicate to their leadership and the assets that they're using. That's how you communicate to the different units that are supporting you. That's how you give updates to your leadership back at the talk. If your teams are split up, that's how you communicate between your different elements. And that's how you give guidance and direction. And that's how you listen to the needs of your people.
So the radio is the most important piece of gear. I had a feeling it was going to be the radio, or that you were going to go the route of like the brain of the leader or something like that. That it was going to be one of those things.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. When you're talking about like a tangible piece of gear, it's the radio.
Right, it's the radio. So because and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because everything I know about the SEAL teams I've learned from reading books. Yeah. Right. So the most important piece of gear for each member of a platoon or for each trooper would vary based off of their job in the platoon, I'm sure, but also a little bit of like personal preference, because it seems like versus what would we call them? Versus conventional military units, you guys get a little more freedom in your loadouts. At least that's I
would say that's factual.
Okay, cool. Because that's the impression that I get. So the most important piece of gear for you, not as a leader, what was the most important piece of gear for you as a point man?
Are we talking like tangible gear?
Yeah, tangible gear.
Okay, not like
my
ability to memorize routes.
Yeah, right. Because
that's pretty important.
That's pretty. Yeah, I would say that's the most important ability that maybe you had. But like, the most important piece of gear that you had as a point man.
I would say my weapon. Yeah, because I'm walking point. Some people might say your compass or your GPS, but I knew my routes.
Yeah.
So I get. So to back up, is it that we're using on a mission or preparing for a mission?
I would say using on a mission. Because
I
and
was
this
gonna
is why I
say
say like, it's
preparing-
such a personal question.
Well, for sure,
Yeah.
because I would say it would be a tie between my actual weapon, because if I'm walking point in a dangerous environment, most likely I'm going to be the first person into a hostile environment. And so if I don't have my weapon, then I mean, that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
But let's say outside of your weapon, because you're not going to go on a patrol without a weapon.
Right.
There's zero, like not one person is not going to have a weapon. So let's take the weapon out of the equation. And so for me as a point man, I would say my map.
Okay.
And then secondary to that would be like a compass or a GPS. Because if I couldn't figure out where I was at, I would use my compass and or GPS to figure out exactly where I'm at on a map, and then figure out where I need to go next. But as a point man, yeah, my map.
Now the point men often get the lead sniper and machine gunner. That was the point man, lead sniper, machine gunner. There's a lot of people that we hear like that whole thing. So did that mean you were carrying a sniper rifle and a machine gun on?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I have a sniper rifle on my back in my rucksack, and then carrying the machine gun walking point. And then there was times in deployment where I just was walking point with my bolt action 300 Win Mag.
Okay.
Which was not ideal. I had some concerns from the leadership.
Okay.
Towards the end of deployment, where I was kind of like, whatever. Not recommended.
Right. This is, I'm sure, a broader question. Well, I want to start off an episode sometime with you telling maybe because this is the question that is coming up more and more often. What's the most dangerous situation that you've ever been in, or what was the most dangerous leadership situation that you've been in? Mm. I think that's a question for a full episode.
Full episode.
Yeah. So here's what I want to know. What was the most dangerous single maneuver that you ever tried while out on patrol? Was it single maneuver, not meaning like platoon maneuver? Like, what was the one thing that you tried out on patrol that you were like, boy, this seems like the worst idea I've ever had, but this is what I've got to do? Was it like rolling out of a window into exposed stuff? Was it, as some of us saw on an Echelon Front reel recently, JP running at and drop kicking a door? Like, what was that you think was the wildest or most dangerous single maneuver that you ever did? I figured after hearing some stories from Leif and Jocko over the course of the last year or so about some JP stuff that they saw, that this might be a question that required a little bit of thought. Yeah. It sounds like SEAL Platoon JP was not as calculated with...
I was very calculated.
Well,
I just didn't care.
Yeah, I was going to say calculated with his risk assessments as a father JP is, where now you look at things, you're like, I don't want to get hurt doing that. But the different environment, different time during your life, different mission completely, right?
Single team guy that's 22, 23 years old.
Yep.
I mean... There's a handful of stories.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Just give me one fun one that we can squeeze into the next 3 or 4 minutes. I already like the way this is starting out.
So Matt Hasby and I were on a rooftop in Ramadi in Camp Corregidor. And it was when we first got over there, we were doing these clearances, and there was just all these back-to-back clearances. And we're up on the rooftop of the building, Full Metal Jacket that we were staying in. And we're up there, and we're looking up, and we're scanning, and all of a sudden, and we're like, we got to get down. We're like, oh, they're, and we're looking around, and we kind of stand up, and we're scanning around the city and everything, because we're on base. We just got there. We're on base. We're at the forward operating base. We're safe, bro. We're like, oh, that's weird. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, somebody's shooting at us.
Okay.
It was a horrible shot, thank God.
Yeah.
So we decided to play peekaboo. And we would stand up and move around like we were dancing and then go back down. I'm up, they see me, and I'm down. And then we'd move to another spot. And we just kept doing that while being shot at.
Were you doing it to try to get the person's location, or is this just like you and Matt Hasby's version of rooftop Russian roulette?
Rooftop Russian roulette, bro.
just bored. Like, all right, there's somebody out there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we were trying to figure out where they were
yeah.
at, but it was coming from. I mean, they're shooting from an urban environment.
Right.
We don't have binoculars with us. We don't have anything. Like
They're not shooting a bright green tracer around so that you can see where it came from.
Yeah, and even by time you're not going to see, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
these things are all like they're not. So it was just like a little rooftop Russian roulette, and we were just
freaking hilarious.
We were up there for a while. Probably
a while. Like, put that into perspective. Is a while like 5 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Is it an hour and a half?
I think we were doing it for about an hour.
Right on.
Just moving around.
All right. Well, now I got something to ask Hasby about whenever it's my portion, whenever we get him on.
Hasby's going to be either a very long episode, like a Joe Rogan length with him. Because, I mean, you got to think, we go back to the point together when we were 20 years old, new guys in the SEAL teams together.
Wow.
Did workup deployment as new guys, workup deployment, task unit Bruiser days, go to training together, run training together, and then just stay close over the year. I mean, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of stories shared there. That'll be fun.
And that guy's experience and knowledge and background is pretty impressive with what he's done in his career. And I'm super thankful that he's now an instructor with us at Echelon Front.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I would probably say that's probably one of the just silly things I probably should not have been doing. But at the time, we just kind of were like, oh, well,
Well, at least the guy's a bad shot, so you didn't have to worry about it, right?
I think that's honestly probably the what we put into the matrix of decision making was like, man, they're a really bad shot. Like,
if he hasn't gotten
the likelihood of them making adjustments and dialing it in on the short period of time that we pop up is going to be rare. So,
well, nicely done. So, thanks for surviving that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lord, for your grace.
No joke.
As always.
All right.
Okay. Well,
wow.
Hey, I appreciate you guys supporting. Thank you for all the support you guys give us by commenting, liking. The fact that you're subscribed to this is huge. Those of you that are sharing this, copying and pasting, posting on social media, sending it to family members, saying, hey, you should check this out. Hey, this is a funny story. Hey, what do you think about this? Is awesome. That's what we need. We love YouTube. We're trying to figure out how to better support YouTube with this podcast, with what we talk about, because at the end of the day, we want to provide value. We want to help people out. We want people to be better leaders, better husbands, better wives. The world needs leadership more than ever. This nation needs leadership more than ever, and it starts with us. And we believe in our listeners to be able to be out there making that change. So we appreciate it. Continue supporting the companies in our ecosystem that support us. Obviously, primary one is Echelon Front. It's what I do. I'm the Chief Training Officer at Echelon Front. I'm very thankful for what I get to do every single day at Echelon Front, working for Jocko and Leif alongside Jamie, Dave, and the rest of our instructors. Check out Little Cattle Co., On the Path Printing, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, Bruiser Arms, Origin USA, Jocko Fuel. Those are the companies in our ecosystem that I am either partners with and or directly working with them and supporting and helping them, and they support and help us. So just want to say thank you for those of you that are out supporting those companies. Hey, life is weird at times. Life is hard, and life is awesome. I truly believe it's how we look at things in life, the choices that we make. So I hope that you continue to make the choice of going out there, working hard, getting after it, and remembering to never settle.